Now it's time for more of Southern California's sports fishing voice. Let's talk Hookup. Get ready for more of the best fishing information and the hottest tips on improving your angling skills. Let's Talk Hookup is sponsored in part by Yamaha Outboards. Reliability starts here. Ford, the official truck of Let's Talk Hookup. Shimano Rods and Reels. Fish with the best. Shimano. And by Rancho Leonero, where your wildest Baja dreams come true. And now, Southern California's sports fishing voice, the hosts of Let's Talk Hookup, Pete Gray and Rock Cod Rick Maxa.
Welcome back, hour number 2. Let's Talk Hookup on the Mighty 1090. Pete Gray here with Rock Cod Rick Maxa. We're in the Mighty 1090 studios. Dr. Chugey Sepulveda, we're just going to call him Chugey. That's how now on with the Tiger Institute of Environmental Research. PIER, as we know it, from Oceanside, and Chugey is such a wealth of knowledge, and I am learning a ton, and I don't know about you, Rick.
Love it, man. This is super cool, and like you say, it's so rad to get to hear about things that we all love so much, but maybe don't know as much about, and it's just awesome, man. We're having a great time, and we want you to be a part of it this morning. So much cool info out there. We would love for you to join and have your questions, and what a great time to do it. If you want to get through, this is a really good time of the show. 858 area code 457-1090. That's our local number. Again, 858-457-1090, or you can reach us toll-free. That toll-free number is 877-792-1090. Again, 877-792-1090. If you want to get through, have your questions answered, that's your shot, and have your shot at winning that awesome prize of going fishing aboard the Daily Double at a Point Loma Sport Fishing on a half-day trip, and that pass is good for 2 people. So you and a buddy are going to get to go do a little half-day in on the Daily Double.
And tackle, too, if you need it.
That's it, man.
Just bring your kid or bring your friend and go fishing with Fred on the Daily Double.
And speaking of good fishing, we're going to find out what's biting out there right now. It's time for the Catch Report, which today is sponsored in part by the Sato Crimp and Winder Company, where they only make products that work. If you want to end your connection failures, you need to try the Sato Crimp Kit. It's a must-have piece of gear for your next trip to help you catch everything from school-sized tuna to record-sized tuna. With all brass crimps and other features, it's better than ever. It's the favorite connection method on the Royal Star, the Royal Polaris, the American Angler, and most of the other top boats. And if you haven't already, you should make it your preferred connection for Spectra to Fluorocarbon or Spectra to Mono. Forget it, selected tackle stores like Fisherman's Lining Tackle or at SatoCrimpandWinder.com. And
are you taking one with you on the Royal Star on Monday?
I'm taking Sato with us on the show.
That's right.
Me?
Like, Gary Sato.
Gary himself is going on the trip.
Big Fish Sato himself.
Yeah, but no, that's not just something we read for the radio. That is what we like in the tackle shop for heavy line. It's an incredibly skinny connection that goes through your guides. It's very easy. It's very strong. It's what we use in our shop, and I can say for sure it's what the guys on the Royal Star use because I've seen them do it all the time. So it's very effective. Solid connection, and if you're a little bit afraid of doing Spectra to Mono, man, you should really look into getting it because it takes all the worry out of it, and it's very, very easy.
And it doesn't fail.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's the best part.
That's key.
Hey, well, it's time to start off our FishDope.com report with the man, Mark Wish, our private boater buddy at Pacific Edge on the line. What's up, Mark?
Hey, good morning, Ricky, Pete, Doctor. Well, guys.
Oh, Mark.
Hey.
It's Chugey.
Yeah, okay, Chugey. So here we are, guys, late November, after Thanksgiving. Hope everybody had a good holiday. After another weather front with a bunch of cold wind. And it makes you think like it should be over, but not even.
Not even.
So not even close. Remember last week I'd mentioned about keeping an eye on that drop-off area, kind of outside PV and then down outside that 150 zone where the rigs are. Well, guess what? Some of that late-season yellowfin showed up in there. Bit actually pretty good yesterday. And there's a decent area of fish, so you want to keep an eye on that break. And that break runs kind of from the middle of Palos Verdes down towards Long Point on Catawini. Especially want to keep an eye around that Avalon bank there. And there was scattered fish around, from the 267 area also. And then before the wind, there was a good area of fish around the backside of Catawini, just kind of outside the V's there, a couple, 3-4 miles. So there's definitely quite a bit of that yellowfin up here. And then the other area that's holding is that San Diego Mission Bay area from the 9 out to the ridge, between the 181 and the 182. There's a good body of fish in that zone still for this time of year. In both areas, there is some troll fish. Guys getting bit on the halcos and the rapalas and the ozuris and the cedar plugs and this and that. But it's best on the dolphins. Get ahead of the dolphins there, throw some bait, and see if you can get them going, see if they'll come up on the chum. But those yellowfin tuna, like that anchovy, especially for whatever reason this year. They seem like they're really keen in on that small bait, and the best presentation is a 15 to 20 pound fluorocarbon and a nice small hook there. So good opportunities there. And then some other news, there's still a fair amount of marlin around. Obviously the main herd is trickling out of here, but there's still a few fish around in that warmer water off the east end of Catalina. And then on the 9 Mile bank proper, there's been some blind strikes on jig. This was before the wind, but looking at the water conditions this morning on the charts there, all that water still looks pretty much the same. They haven't gone anywhere. And then in terms of that yellowtail fishing, that stage is set for another good winter on those tankers out there in deep water. That yo-yo fishing last couple winters has been nothing short of fantastic, and the fish are still around. The conditions are much the same, so I'm sure we'll see the same. And we got a week of beautiful weather coming up. Might be a little chilly. Might have to put on an extra sweatshirt there, but lots to do, and don't even think about putting that gear away yet.
Don't even. Yeah, for sure. And, I was able to keep track of what's going on here through fishdope.com when you're out of town or you're in town. The source is fishdope.com. You can save $20 on an annual membership. That's 365 days of Fish Dope. You can log on as many times a day as you want for $149 with that code, using the code Hookup Now. Fishdope.com is the source. And, Mark, you know what I was thinking of? I was thinking of the Christmas Spectacular now that we're in the holiday season. And that's coming up December the 19th. And I was starting to think, already gathering up gifts and ideas for that Mark Wish Christmas Spectacular, December 19th. Going to be a fun time, so start thinking up your creative input for the show, our annual Christmas Spectacular, and going to be fun, right, Mark?
I look forward to that show, Pete. And, in fact, Krista just mentioned to me the other day, hey, are you going to do that? And I go, well, I can't imagine not doing it. We've been doing it for a pretty long time. So, yeah, and, guys, I think last year, I think the guys were maybe just kind of tuned it down a little bit. We need to ratchet it up, man.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're throwing down the towel, huh? You're saying ratchet it up a little bit.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
They're giving you an early heads up here. Now you got just about a whole month to let them creative juices kick in here. So
there you go. All right, Mark. Well, how do we find you if we want to come on down to Pacific Edge, get some good stuff, get a bait tank, some knowledge, all that good stuff?
We're in Huntington Beach, Pete, on the corner of Bolsa Chica and Edinger. And the phone number is area code 714-840-4262. The website, PacificEdgeTackle.com. And go catch some fish, guys.
Go
it's
catch
still
some
darn
fish.
Good fishing.
All right. I like that.
Thanks,
Appreciate it, Mark. Hey, let's head on down to San Diego over to C4 Sport Fishing and talk to our buddy Marcos, where they're just doing just that. They're catching some
Look at
fish.
the phone's
What's up?
ringing.
Yeah.
Hear it?
What's up, Marcos?
Yes, well, we are still catching fish, minus a little bit of weather in the middle of the week there, slow down a bit, but right back at it. The half-day trips fishing off the coast here, catching very good bottom fishing going on there. The new Seaforth ran offshore yesterday on the half-day. Look for some yellowfin there. It's a bit hit or miss. They had 8 on one of those trips and then 2 in the afternoon there, so not quite there. But, this is talking about even a shot at half-day yellowfin at this point in the season. What more can you ask for there? But the San Diego actually fishing down at the island, or fishing offshore down in Mexican waters, not the islands right now. Again, they're catching yellowfin tuna. They had 96 yellowfin yesterday, 6 skipjack. So back to business there. They're back out there today looking around. And again, we're talking November, end of November, yellowfin there. And those fish are kind of in the 20 to 25 pound range. Still got some anchovies for bait there. So lots of good things happening. We have the outer limits out on a 1 day, also looking around, see what they can find out there. And check the website. We got trip schedule coming up here with those half days. Like I said, the new Seaforth's back online. If things kind of settle in a bit, maybe we'll start running those trips offshore again. Not a given at this point, but definitely keep an eye there. The San Diego will be fishing offshore looking for yellowfin for the next couple weeks here, and they're actually finally a well-deserved break. They're going to be taking there at, I believe, the 8th of December as the last trip they'll be running for a couple weeks. And Luke's going to let his crew take a break. They've been working pretty continuously for the last couple of years here catching yellowtail and yellowfin, so definitely deserve that. Check the website, seaforthlanding.com. Half day, 3/4 day, 1 day, some day and a half next month. All kinds of options here. It's might as well be August at this point.
Yeah, might as well be.
It's crazy.
Come on. The phones, and You can book online. You can call. The best thing to do is just ask for Marcos when you call.
Yeah, just call after 1:30 p.m. and ask for me.
Marcos.
But yeah, it's amazing, and it's so cool that you guys are still running tuna trips, and a lot of people are taking advantage of them.
Absolutely. I mean, even if you don't want to do that, long trip offshore there, we've got very good bottom fishing here. We've got some nice weather. Get it while you can here. We don't know what this winter's going to be like. I'm sure there's going to be some large gaps where there's some serious weather there. So seaforthlanding.com. Give us a call at the office, 619-224-3383. Come visit us. Stop by Landing Grill. Pick up a Rock Cod Rick breakfast burrito. And we'll get you out there fishing.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Perfect.
And see, there you go.
Thanks, Marcos. Appreciate that. We'll talk to you next Saturday.
We'll talk to you then.
See you, Marcos.
All right.
Hey, well, that's going to wrap up our Catch Port again. Sponsored part by Dana Landing on Mission Bay, your one-stop shop for everything you need to go fishing. They've got a complete saltwater tackle store, a full deli. They have trips and six-pack charges, including that beautiful new Blackjack, a perfect four-pack local boat. And when it comes to freshwater tackle, check out East County Bait and Tackle, full of all the freshwater tackle and live bait that you need for a great day on the lake. And if you haven't been in to East County Bait and Tackle, you got to go check it out. They've expanded. The store is much larger.
Giant.
It's awesome. They did a really, really nice job, and a very, very well-stocked tackle store. Some really good guys in there.
It's impressive.
Yeah, it really, really is. Hey, again, if you want to get more information, you can check out Dana Landing right across from SeaWorld, next to the Dana Launch Ramp in Mission Bay, and East County Bait and Tackle. It's at the end of the 67 freeway at Mapleview and Lakeside, or check DanaLanding.com for more info.
Indeed. Let's go ahead and jump into the phones if you want to get through. One line open, and that is 858-457-1090, open right now.
Alan in Mission Bay, you're up next on Let's Talk Hookup. What's up, Alan?
Hey, guys. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Super interesting show. I have a question about Opa, which it's one of my favorite fish to eat. I know that they're a deep water fish, and I think Brian Kiyahara said on this show that the Searcher is one of the only boats that actually goes out and target them. Chugey, what do you know about Opa and their migratory patterns, if they even have any?
Well, Opa is one of these fish that's not that well studied, unfortunately. Even the folks at the Southwest Center, so the NOAA people, that my colleagues there, Nick Wagner, Heidi Dewar, they've been working on Opa the last few years, especially because they seem to be more prevalent. They eat a lot of squid, market squid.
Okay.
So in years where you have pretty decent abundance of market squid along the beach, you see a lot of Opa. They're a lot of times right there, and no one's targeting them. They're
How do you target an Opa then?
just don't fish the surface.
Go deep.
Yeah, they like a lot of fish, they do aggregate around floating objects. You'll see them sometimes on kelps. That's how most of the long-range fish are caught, on a kelp. They stop on a kelp. Someone, usually it's the person with they've got a weight on and they're just going down below and they're not paying too much attention. They'll let it sink, or they let
Drop
the
the
iron
flat fall.
Yeah, exactly. Go all the way down. They're not as deep as swordfish typically. You're looking at anywhere from 300 to 500 feet deep, as opposed to the 8 to 1,500 for a swordfish. But they are pretty aggressive. You get a bait down there, they'll jump right on it. It's great looking fish.
It's a tropical fish, so it's more going to be here when yellowfin tuna are here.
I'd say it's a kind of a temperate one. So we see them right before the yellowfin show up.
So more like bluefin.
Bluefin, yes.
Yeah.
When bluefin are around, that's a good time. Off our coast, see them in the fall, starting like right around now. Water temperatures between probably 64 and 68, and also in the spring. When the thresher sharks start showing up right in May, probably 66 degree water. That's usually when you find them.
If you're a guy like Alan, you got your skiff, you got your buddy, man, I really want to catch one. We want to go set out to catch one. How would you go about it? What if that was your goal, to really try and catch an Opa, needle in a haystack? What were the type of things that you would do?
It would be a needle in a haystack, but a lot of guys catch them when they're thresher shark trolling.
Okay.
So trolling with a bait-o-matic or something that gets you down a little bit. Slow trolling, 2-3 knots. And they aggregate in big numbers. So usually when you find one, you find a lot of them.
Really?
So you see one or two guys catching them on a kelp here or there off of Oceanside, or Laguna is a good place. You see them show up. That's when there's probably quite a few in the area. The other thing is every time you get to a kelp, we've started doing this. Every time you get to a kelp, you think to yourself, everybody just wants to pitch the fly line bait.
Sure.
You got to just take a straw and say, okay, guess what? you've got to put a weight on.
You're the OPA guy.
Yeah, and just rotate because it'll happen.
Yeah.
They're around kelps quite often, but a lot of times we don't. We're not putting the bait in front of them.
And how deep is deep? You put it down 50 feet, 100 feet, several hundred feet? I mean, what?
I'd go down a couple hundred feet.
Okay. Rubber band a torpedo sinker on the line and send it down a couple hundred feet and put it in the rod holder and then get back to fishing your yellowtail.
Exactly. That would be if you want to target one, that'd probably be the best. And if you do that every single kelp, sooner or later you're going to
connect.
Yeah.
There you go, Alan. You got all the inside info.
Crap.
Appreciate the call this morning. Okay, another weird fish that I know is not a fish you're going to catch on hook and line is a luvar that we see here in Southern California. Gillnet fish, delicious eating. Once in a while you'll see it at Point Loma Seafood. Is it possible to catch one of those on a hook and line?
I don't know that much about luvar, to be honest with you, because it's just such a rarity. I know that they. The one thing I do know, it's a prized fish for the table.
I know they eat good. Yeah,
they
they're
do.
so good.
Yeah, exactly. And I've actually never even seen one up close and put my hands on one.
Really? Wow.
That's how rare they are for a rod and reel type fish.
Yeah.
I've been told many times that it's very, very unlikely you're going to catch one on a rod and reel, just because of what they prey upon. And you know what? And I'm not even going to go there because I really don't know that much about them.
I've heard that they prey on jellyfish.
Yeah, I've also heard the same thing, but I don't know for a fact, so that's why I didn't want to go out.
All right,
especially on the radio here.
It's a rumor. Yeah. It's a rumor.
Chugey said,
Yeah, but Chugey said.
The doctor told me.
If I put a jellyfish on my line, I'm going to catch a luvar. No, it doesn't work that way.
What about when you're doing your dream? And I know you said that the bycatch is super rare when you're doing your deep set fishery. What are some of the cool things that you have caught? The different weird like oil fish or anything like that.
Yeah,
and what are some of the funky stuff that you've wound up?
Escalar and the Ruveta. So Escalar are deep water fish. We usually there's a couple different species. There's also an oil fish, and it's a little different. It's a little pricklier. Their scales are actually quite sharp. Something you don't want to eat very much of, that's for sure, because they can cause some digestional discomfort. Let's just put it. If you eat too much of them, they're a very oily fish. Has a wax ester we can't metabolize, so it kind of goes right through you. So, but we've got those. We've got thresher sharks and swordfish, Opa.
Okay,
that's about it. I mean, it's pretty.
So you'll catch an Opa sometimes on the deep set gear.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Hey, another interesting thing is this week's edition of Western Outdoor News, always loaded with good information. Check out this week. They're talking tuna. They're talking hunting. They're talking trout, and even have some snook information.
Everything's going on.
Check that out, this week's edition of Western Outdoor News.
All right. Hey, we're going to jump right back into the phone times. We're going to talk to Sam. Sam's calling us from Irvine. Good morning, Sam. Welcome to Let's Talk Hookup.
Good morning. Great show.
Sam.
I had a question. I live up here in Orange County, and like in June, July, we used to just get like wide open sand bass. But it hasn't, it's been like really down for the last few years. Is that just a cycle thing? What is up with that?
Well, it's hard to say. And I think that there's actually several individuals at DFW, Fish and Wildlife. Hard to say Fish and Wildlife.
Right?
I always
It
keep on
doesn't sound
going
right.
the game there. So those folks there, actually a couple of my colleagues are working on sand bass aggregations. Unfortunately, we're not seeing those aggregations in a lot of places. So up and down the coast, the spots that roll off the tongue would be the IB Flats. Amazing sand bass fishing when I was a kid.
Sure.
You could just it was a half day, morning half day, afternoon half day, and the twilight would just pile on them. Off of the domes there in San Onofre, again, also Huntington Flats. That's probably the mecca, and we're not seeing those aggregations. It probably is related to somewhat of a cycle, but at the same time, we can't not think about overfishing because that's when they're spawning. They get up to spawn in good numbers, so it's hard to say what's going on. And I think that I have been seeing those aggregations below the border though, especially off San Quintin. Just amazing sand bass aggregations, big 4 to 6 pound grumpy ones. So hopefully some of that recruitment fills in up here too.
Yeah.
We start seeing it.
Not that we were taking outside of the legal amounts, but you gotta think that, like you said, I mean, morning, half day, and afternoon boat from 3 boats from 4 landings up and down the coast, wherever it is, Huntington, San Diego. I mean, there's thousands of fish a day that get pulled out of it, sometimes for days and days and days and days at a time. There's no way that can have no effect on it.
Yeah, so I think that, that couple that with some environmental factor that we don't really understand, like recruitment. We don't understand recruitment for most species. Like what causes an animal to have a successful, brood or successful offspring. So there's a lot of things we don't know, but we have to think about. Question. We have to think about, we probably had something to do with it. I probably had something to do with it personally.
And now, with the 5-fish limit instead of a 10-fish limit, that will certainly help.
I think we're on the right track.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. Hey, good question. Thanks a lot for the call this morning.
Hey, when we come back, we got a lot more Let's Talk Hookup coming your way. More of your phone calls, more great information. Again, if you want to get through, 858-457-1090 or 877-792-1090. More Let's Talk Hookup when we return on the Mighty 1090. Everyone likes special treatment, kind of feel like a VIP. Well, that's how our listeners are treated at Poway Valley Collision. I have personally heard of several stories of how well our friends Jim and Mary take care of their customers that we sent them. Poway Valley Collision is worth the drive from anywhere in the Southland. We know you may not need them today, but when accidents happen, it pays to go to Poway Valley Collision. And listen to this. Our listeners get a special discount that can save you hundreds of dollars on your car or truck repair. Just tell them you listen to the show and you get the deal. They work with most insurance companies, including Auto Club, MetLife, Wawanesa, and more. Just bring your car or truck to them and let Poway Valley Collision do the rest. I have had my truck repaired at Poway Valley Collision, and the job was perfect. So get your vehicle fixed right at Poway Valley Collision. Tell them you listen to Let's Talk Hookup, and they'll save you money on your repair. Poway Valley Collision, 14211 Garden Road in Poway. Check PowayValleyCollision.com.
Time for a Power Pro 60-second seminar on your next fishing trip. Get that Power Pro advantage. And, for long-range fishing, like Rick's going on, his big trip on the Royal Star here on Monday, Power Pro advantage is Power Pro Hollow Ace, right?
And it's the nicest rigging Spectra line there is. Hollow Ace is a 16-carrier line as opposed to many others which use 12. And it basically just allows for any type of insert, finger trap connection, splicing lines together, splicing loops in the line. It's just a lot easier with Power Pro than it is with most of the other Spectra lines that are out there. And that's how the rigging is done on those trips. Everything is running your Seaguar fluorocarbon inside of it, sliding a Sato crimp down to hold everything into place. That whole process is just much easier with Hollow Ace than it is with just about any other Spectra line out there.
Yeah, and I'll give you an example, too. Another thing that's very important is keeping that reel full of Power Pro. And if you do like I did, loan your Italica 50 to Harold Davis, and he devastates the Power Pro on there, no problem.
Yep.
Splice it right back in. You won't even see the seam.
Exactly.
It makes it easy. Power Pro, Hollow Ace, buy Power Pro at your local tackle store.
When it comes to fishing rods for saltwater, there's just one name you need to know, CalStar. Take, for example, the Graphiter series. It's a true graphite and fiberglass composite rod, the finest it's ever been built. And for anglers seeking traditional performance, durability, and quality at an affordable price, the CalStar West Coast series of rods and blanks are the ones for you. Their master craftsmen bring decades of rod building experience to every rod they make. So if you want your fishing rods to be truly state-of-the-art, I always recommend CalStar at fine tackle stores everywhere.
Come join fly fishing superstar Conway Bowman for 2 very special and very limited Fishin' Mission Fly Fishing Edition at Fast Lane Kayaks in Mission Bay. This is your chance to get on the water instruction from Conway on a new Hobie Pro Angler 14. Even if you have never touched a fly rod, this is a great opportunity to learn from one of the best. 2 sessions, Saturday, November 21st and Saturday, December 12th, each limited to just 10 anglers. So call Fast Lane now to reserve your spot. 619-222-0766. When it comes to Hobie kayaks, no one does it better than Fast Lane Kayaks at Dana Landing, across from SeaWorld in Mission Bay. Check FastLaneSailing.com.
This is Captain Tim Ekstrom from the long-range vessel Royal Star. With my partners Randy Toussaint and Brian Sims, we have set the bar for the long-range fishing experience. A spring 8-day, summer 5-day, or a fly-down, fly-back 11-day winter trip, we deliver the highest quality long-range voyage you will find. From our premium RSW fish storage to our top-of-the-line chefs and crew, Royal Star distinguishes itself from all others. Want to grab a spot on the Royal Star? Check us out at RoyalStarSportFishing.com or call Tracy at 619-224-4764.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Hookup on the Mighty 1090.
All right, you want to get through, talk to Mr. Sepulveda. How's that? Chugey. Chugey.
Again, feeling like I'm getting in trouble here.
858-457-1090 open right now. Want to remind you, tomorrow on Let's Talk Hookup, going to be a fun show. Mr. John Ireland from Rancho Leonero is going to be in the studio with us, and we'll get the latest on what happened down at Rancho Leonero with that little tropical depression passing through today down there. I don't think a lot. It looks like it dissipated before it got there. But how weird was that? A Category 4 hurricane at the end of November down south? Bizarre deal, huh?
It is. Look at the water temperatures.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what dictates it.
That's what happens. So tune in tomorrow, 7 to 9 a.m. for Mr. John Ireland talking Baja with Rancho Leonero.
All right. Just as Pete said, too, if you want to get through, man, great time at 858-457-1090. Again, 858-457-1090. It's open right now. Ezra calling from Wildemar. You're up next on Let's Talk Hookup. Good morning.
Thanks for joining us, Ezra.
Good morning, you guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just had a quick question on what gear I should bring. Me and my dad are planning to go on a 2.5-day out of either Fisherman's Landing or, which one was? Oh, Seaforth.
Right
so I was
on.
just, what tackle would you guys recommend?
What time of the year are you going, Ezra?
Next summer.
Next summer. All right. Chugey, what do you take on a 2.5-day? You spend a lot of time on the water.
I take quite a bit.
Yeah. Why not?
But what's great these days is if you have a couple of reels, you don't have to have a lot of gear. I mean, we live in a fortunate time now because you can load some 65-pound Spectra on a couple of reels and then just have a bunch of different top shots. I do think if you want to have the advantage, you want to get bit, you need to stay away from mono for the most part and just use the Spectra rig with a little bit of a top shot. It's really critical because you never know what your bait's going to look like. Sometimes the bait's not that great, especially when the guys are fishing quite a bit. You're looking at, subpar bait. Just a little bit of Spectra is so much easier for that sardine to tow it around. Or, right now, a lot of the boats are stuck with anchovy. Try to cast chovy on 40-pound. I mean, it's really difficult.
And speaking of anchovy, how would you hook the anchovy? Because it always seems that they're too small to hook in the nose. So.
It's a good question.
It's a good question, but I think that's kind of where you got to stick to right to the front of the nose. Probably using a nice sharp hook as opposed to one of your typical bronze hooks. The sharp hook it allows it to pierce through it, so you're not actually hurting the anchovy much. I don't want to say hurting, but you're not making more damage than you have to as you pierce the nose.
Scale down on your size of your hook.
Oh yeah, and also line.
Mm-hmm.
Especially 20-pound test, 20, 15, and 20. I would not be afraid to use that occasionally. Some of the probably two-day guys. It depends on what's biting also.
Yeah.
And a good thing is you listen to this show. You also look at what's being caught. You look at what's being caught, and then you scale from there.
Yeah, Ezra, when you get close to your trip, call down to the landing, call down to the tackle store, wherever it is. You can call down to us, Fisherman's Landing, any of the good tackle shops up in your area, and just say, hey, we're going on a 2.5-day, because things change and the size of fish change. So as a super general thing, if somebody called the landing and said, I'm going on a 2.5-day next summer, we'd say a 25-pound rod and a 40-pound rod, because with those two things, you can cover most all of the bases. And just like Chugey said, you could change your top shot to the to whatever it was. But as a super general, a year away from your trip, we always say a 25 and a 40. You could fish a bait on one. You could fish a flat fall on the other. If there's big bluefins around, you could just tie your live bait hook onto your 40-pound rod and catch your big fish. So that's a super general. But when your trip gets, say, 3 weeks away, call down to the landing and say, hey, we're going, Dad and I are going, we're going on a trip. What's going on right now? And they'll be able to dial in exactly for that trip.
The other thing, too, is we don't know what the bait's going to be, right? The cycle of sardine seems to be going the other way, right? When I was a kid, we didn't know what a sardine was. We fished anchovies. That was the deal back then. And now, are we headed back to that cycle now?
It looks like we're there right now.
Yeah.
Especially, I think, out of Oceanside and Dana Point, it's been hard to find the sardine in the receiver. That's why, I never bring up the word 20-pound, but it's really hard to fish anchovy on 30 or, even 30-pound test. So last few days with some beautiful anchovy, but still, it's really hard to fish anchovy with heavy line.
Yes.
How fortunate are we, in 2015, almost 2016, that now you can fish an 8-foot graphite composite rod and a Trinidad 14A that free spools better than your Newell 220 did, but you can actually pull on a fish with it. and then 30-pound, 50-pound Spectra, and a little piece of 20-pound Cigar. Like the gear is so right for it that when that time does come that you go to the fish a bait and all there is a Chovy, we're in a whole lot better shape than we were 10 years ago.
When I was a kid, it was a Penn 500 and 30-pound stiff monofilament, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And a rod that was tough to cast. And now you can get a Shimano bait runner. Like Ezra would be a great opportunity for you, like a Shimano bait runner, which is a easy casting spinning reel that has a live bait feature on it. I mean, we would have died for something like that when I was a kid, for sure.
What we're doing is making it really hard on the reel manufacturers, though, because everybody wants to put 65-pound test on the little reel. But, it's great. It's a good time.
That's all good.
Hey, have a great trip, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again before then, Ezra. Thanks for the call this morning.
Kevin in Carlsbad, you're up next on Let's Talk Hookup. What's up, Kevin?
Morning, Kevin.
I just had a question on how we thought the health of the halibut stock was.
That's another species that I probably need to bone up a little bit more on. I know this stock is not as healthy as we'd like it to be, I'm probably going to have to punt on that one because I don't want to give you any false dope there on where it is. I do know it's a lot. The population is not where we want it, and we're trying to rebuild it as we speak.
Yeah, the guys at Hubs were doing a lot of work with halibut, right?
Yeah, I believe they were. Also, Fish and Game recently they just did a stock assessment not too long ago. And I believe it was well below the biomass that's needed to produce MSY.
Yeah.
So we're looking at probably somewhat of a reduced population state right now, but hopefully, like I said, I really can't go too much there.
Yeah,
because
I understand.
Yeah,
it's
but
funny.
Here's kind of the mystery to me is that we eliminated the coastal gill nets, which really helped the sea bass fishing come back, as well as it should have helped the halibut fishing to come back, but it kind of didn't.
There's a lot of factors with halibut. For example, they use a lot of the larger halibut use bays and estuaries for recruitment. That's where a lot of your juveniles spend a lot of their time. We've done a lot to manipulate the coast over the past 100 years, so that's probably something that has a factor to play in the whole scenario as well. So it's really hard to say, and there's so many different factors that to put your finger on the one. I don't believe it's just, overfishing. I don't think so. But there's a lot of other things going on as well that we probably don't really understand.
All the talk about sea bass and halibut make me realize how much I really need squid to be around. I just need them to be dumb. When there's a big squid nest around and those things are in there just fat and happy, eating heavy line and big hooks off the bottom, that's when I'm a halibut expert. But anytime you have to really angle for one, you take me right out of the game, man. That's
so. Good question. I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier in the show. Are we going to see squid nests in the winter this year? In the spring?
I think there's a little bit of squid right now, and squid. That's another species that kind of. You talk to a lot of folks that fish squid, and they'll tell you, "Oh, I think doesn't look good," and then all of a sudden, the squid starts piling up again. So it's really hard to say. I do think that right now we're seeing some squid along the beach, and hopefully we do because it's a really important forage fish for a lot of species. I mean, when it's around, look at those marlin this year. That's all they were eating.
Really?
Yeah, they were.
Was it market-sized squid?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
When it's around, it's a favorite prey item.
The candy bait.
And we kind of joked about it earlier, but it's the truth. It's amazing how accessible fish become when they're on it too. You can just catch easily fish that are just so difficult to catch and target. It just makes them dumb. They get into it.
Yeah,
you like it.
I
like it like that.
I need dumb ones, man.
Even
That's
the
my
pelagics.
style.
You use one, pin a squid on for a bluefin that's jumping out of the water that won't touch anything else, and guess what?
Yeah. Elite.
That's right.
Hey, thanks a lot for the call this morning.
All right, let's jump back into the phone. Speaking of bluefin, let's talk to Tom. Called us from San Diego this morning. Hi, Tom. Welcome to Let's Talk Hookup.
Well, good morning, gentlemen. How are you today?
Good. What's up, Tom?
Good. I just wanted to ask, in general, it's my understanding, and can you please clarify this somewhat, that our sport fishing take, although it's symbolic, I think, that we all have to do our part, aren't we just a fraction of whatever the commercial take is?
Yes, but the commercial take in California waters, the U.S. waters, it's relatively minor as well. So
right.
in general, I think California's landings or U.S. landings is minor, probably about I think it's less than 4% of the landings in the Eastern Pacific. So yes, and you're right to say that it's symbolic. It's I think it's everyone who uses the resource has been put together, and they put their heads together, and they're realizing that everyone needs to participate in these times where we need to see a reduced take.
And like you said, lead by example, right?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much our motto.
Really the way it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, nobody's going to follow it.
Yes.
There you go, Tom. Thanks a lot for the call this morning.
All right. How about next up? We talked to Dennis. He's called us from Norwalk this morning. Hi, Dennis. Welcome to Let's Talk Hookup.
Yes, good morning. I have a question for the doctor there. We're catching all types of fish right now. What happened to the albacore?
Well, yeah, Chugey, what happened to those albacore?
Well, they're off Westport.
What'd you do with
They're
them?
off Westport.
Yeah, I think that you look back in history, and way before my time, there have been periods, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, where you do not see a lot of albacore off the Southern California coast. It doesn't mean that they're not around, because there's, our fleet pretty much looks at the waters about 100 miles from here. The long-range fleet go further, but when they're doing those long trips, they're pretty much just scooting right to where they need to go. So there could be some fish offshore, but right now, I think we're in one of those phases where you look back in history, we've been there before, where there's not a lot of volume of albacore around, and I mean hardly any.
Yeah.
Because
in our Southern California bight.
Yes, exactly. And then once you get Monterey going up north, those fish have been showing consistently for all of that, for that entire long range, the pole and line fleet, and all the troll boats. They've been doing really well. So
the stock is healthy then.
Stock seems to be, it seems to be where it needs to be. Yeah, I think it's slightly declining now, but it had a lot of really good years of recruitment, and I don't think that there's any concern over the albacore resource right now, but it's just not here. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that we all look at when you go out there and you don't see any, sardine locally. You think to yourself, well, is this a problem? But we're just looking at one drop in the bucket. The resource could move. It all moves. It migrates. So you need to look at the big picture and say, okay, we just don't have it here right now. It's not that there's a concern. It's just in a different location.
Having anchovy now as the predominant bait on our coast, and there's a lot of anchovy around, in previous years that seemed to bring albacore fishing around.
Yes, exactly. Bonito also. Bonito.
Yes.
Thresher sharks.
Seen the bonitos.
Common thresher sharks, bonito. There's a whole bunch of species that actually seem to follow or track that same anchovy abundance, and hopefully we'll see them, because I love bonito. I mean, it's a great fish for folks like Ezra and that younger generation going on a half-day boat. That's one of the.
I mean, nothing pulls like a bonita,
and they're aggressive. If you see something splashing and you think it's bonita and you cast an iron and you don't get a bite, guess what? Wasn't a bonita.
Yeah. Indeed. But, I'm going to go out on I call it a Tommy Rothery limb here, because Tommy's always good about predicting albacore. And I'm going to say, because of what's happening here, I am going to go on record to say we're going to have albacore in 16-17 season.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I would have said,
okay.
I think it's definitely possible.
Yeah.
And, and we're due.
Yeah. We're so due. Yeah. And you know what? If it happens to be yellowfin tuna and bluefin tuna again, I'm fine with that.
I just want next year. I just want what we just had again.
Yeah,
just give me a straight repeat of last year every year for the rest of my life, and you'll never hear a complaint ever.
Foaming 40 to 50 pound bluefin within a mile or two of the beach is never a bad thing.
Yeah, no, I'll take that forever.
Yeah, and followed up by a whole string of wahoo, right?
Yeah, blue marlin, Cabo style marlin fishing right outside the Channel Islands. I'll take that. No
Yellowtail stacked up on the rocks.
Yeah, everywhere. You don't even fish for them anymore because the tuna's so close.
Yeah.
My favorite part of the year for sure, even with all the cool stuff that happened, the wahoos and the big marlins and everything, was at the beginning of our summer season when we were fishing really good visual bird schools of fish. And there was a time kind of in that Coronado Canyon area outside Coronado Islands where you would cast onto a school of birds, and it was all surface iron fishing, and when you came tight, you had no clue if you were going to have a yellowtail or a bluefin tuna, and multiple times Neil and I would slide into a stop. We'd each cast at the same time. We'd hook a fish together in the same school of fish that splashed around. One guy whined in a yellow, the other guy whined in a tuna. Like, that was the most fun I think I've ever had fishing Southern California. It's so rad.
And that yellowtail fishing we had, my gosh, it was unbelievable there.
I think we're in for another really good year of yellow. I really, really do. All that food's around, that fish, and it just didn't. I think it's going to be a good one.
Okay.
Water's warm.
All right.
I think
you in with that one too?
Oh yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think we're there. I think we're gonna develop a whole generation that think that it's the norm.
Yeah, right.
Like Mark Wish said, don't put the rods away because it's
no,
going to go year round.
Yeah, time to stock up on your full size 6Xs and 7Xs before they're gone again. Because I think it's gonna be another year. All those cod spots holding yellow again.
Yeah, indeed. All right, that does free up 858-457-1090 and a line open on the toll free line at 877-792-1090.
Doug in Montebello, you're up next on Let's Talk Hookup. Hi, Doug.
Hi. What's going to happen to the kelp after the El Nino comes through?
You know, it's already not looking that great. I was just at Barn Kelp a few days ago, and there's just a few straggling pieces. There's a lot of so during the warm water periods, you see a lot of bryozoans, a small crusting organism that looks like the kelp doesn't look. It looks pretty ratty. It really weighs it down, and it does not do well.
That feeding on the kelp?
It attaches to the surface of it, makes it really bulky, and it makes it easier for it to break off. It weighs it down quite a bit.
Okay.
And with these storms that we're having and that we're going to have in the near future, that coupled with the El Nino, it's probably not a good thing. I do remember seeing the Hoya almost kelpless. I know that the right below the Coronado, seeing no kelp down there after an El Nino. I think we're probably into the same thing. Fortunately, it seems to come back really well. Mm-hmm. It can grow really fast when the conditions are right. So we're going to get used to catching some calicos on the rocks.
That's right.
Yeah, and here in Point Loma is one of the last places that there's some kelp, and it's going quickly.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but you said at Cedros there was virtually no kelp.
That's what I was
there on the Shogun.
Yeah, I got to do that skiff trip on the Shogun where we hit all the Baja hotspots. Geronimo Island, San Martin, Cedros, Bonitos, and all those areas that often have super lush kelp beds. It was exactly as Chugey just described. If anything, little teeny stragglers that you'll see the kelp stalk come up that has like a couple of leaves on it, and maybe the surface has 3 or 4 leaves that hit on. It just isn't there. Almost anywhere we went, there was just
can make for some real good calico fishing.
Oh man!
Because guess what? They can't hide.
That's it. And you can get to where you just couldn't get to before. That fish has always sat on that stone, but there's no way of you getting to that stone, and now you can. I'm with you. I think it's going to be some good fishing in our future.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for the call this morning.
All right. How about we jump back into him, talk to Darren. He's called us from Escondido this morning. Darren, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, guys.
What's up, Darren?
Hey, the algae bloom up north that's affecting the crabs.
Yes.
Is that getting all the way down to affect our lobster down here?
I don't know. I don't know. It's a good question, and I know that they're really on it right now because that crab industry is taking a big hit, especially this time of year. I know that the NOAA folks there at the Southwest region are really focused on it, and so are the folks at Department of Fish and Wildlife. So, to be honest with you, it's quite possible. I don't think that there's any concern for Southern California right now. However, you could probably go on the DFW website if there is concern. If you want to read more about it, because there's folks that really spend a lot more time than I do focusing on those issues. But it's quite possible. It could happen. It's a naturally occurring situation. But to be honest, right now, I'm not the best person to answer that question.
Yeah, they're talking about Dungeness crab.
Yes.
And in the Central Coast, and they're off limits now for commercial take and recreational take because they found some type of a bacteria in what they're eating.
I believe it's a domoic acid.
Domoic acid. Yeah.
So right now, the best thing is probably go on those websites because I know that there's a lot of information and they've been updating them recently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I will say this: if you have a hankering to want to eat some Dungeness crab, the ones at Point Loma Seafood are from further north. They're from Washington, Oregon, and mostly from Alaska, and those are fine.
Yeah.
Once you're out of the zone of Central California and northern, kind of that central northern California area, you're fine to eat Dungeness crab because that domoic acid is not existing in those.
Yeah.
So
thank God, because I know that Dungeness crab night at Kingfisher charters. Like, if that didn't go
We're
down.
safe
like,
on
yeah,
that.
okay, just making
We're
sure.
all good on that.
I'm planning on putting a
for
pretty
sure.
serious dent into that this year, just as long as we're good.
So. Yeah, all right. Hey, thanks a lot for the call this morning.
Joe in L.A., you're up next on Hookup. Hey, Joe, good morning. Thanks for hanging in.
Joe?
Hey, guys, before I ask my question, I just want to say, fight on.
Right on.
Anyway, Doctor, with the wahoo that have been around, do you think we're going to have a repeat of that?
Yeah, I have a feeling. I mean, I think this is crystal ball time, right? Because I don't.
Well, we're all doing right. We don't know until it happens.
I do think that So we saw a little bit last year. We saw a lot more this year, and I think that we're going to see these warm water conditions persist at least for another year. And as long as they do, I think we're going to see the same situation. Probably occasional blue marlin. There was quite a few of them around this year.
It was cool.
Some spearfish, and the wahoo's a great. I mean, that was I only caught one, but I'm happy to say I caught one.
Yeah, I would say since I caught none.
So I'm just going to say I caught one more than Pete.
There you go. Perfect. That works.
And a lot fewer than Rick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So the wahoo is a cycle, right? It's following the warm water, but that being said, in past years, we haven't seen the proliferation of wahoo even in the southern warmer waters. So it's a cycle that they kind of blossomed this year.
I think it has a lot to do with the current patterns. So if the current that feeds the bite, if it's coming from one direction, you may see, a certain species over another. And I think that that's what happens because a lot of these fish, we learn, the more we learn about them, we realize that they follow the currents quite a bit.
Okay.
So they're not really going upstream like a salmon to spawn. They're going with the current. So we see that water feed into the bite, and then
they just jump on the highway.
Exactly.
Yeah. Get on, and it dumps them off where there's a bunch of food, and the water's right, and they're happy, and they'll.
Yeah, and you got kelps holding wahoo and tuna, and it's just a good situation.
So rad, man.
So
cool.
Hope it continues.
Yeah, we all do.
Joe.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate the call. Just about 30 seconds left from Mike in San Carlos. Hi, Mike.
Hey, I've got a question about hooks. I went out on the Tribute about 5 weeks ago. They said, hey, boys, get your number 4 hooks because these anchovies are small. Well, can you undergun if the fish get bigger and you're still using a small hook?
Yeah, I think that's probably a good question for Rick. But, yeah, I certainly think, you're only hooking so much meat. So when you have a really small hook, not to mention the line, when they start ingesting those hooks, they just woof that anchovy down. You're looking at it's like a hacksaw going back and forth over your line. So I definitely think you can undergun. You can so it's good idea to just have several different sizes ready at
Number
your disposal.
4 is a small hook.
It is. It's tiny.
Yeah.
That's like going back to 1984. For me, it's a really tiny hook that probably needs a lighter line, and you don't have a lot of gape there, so you're not hooking a lot of meat.
Fishing is always going to be about pros and cons. At least your tackle part of it is. A number 4 hook is just flat out way too small of a hook to catch a big fish, but you still have to get a bite. If the bait's small, and your scenario forever is always going to be that weighing out the pros and cons. If the bait is very small and it's weak, you're flat out not going to get a bite if you try to put a 4-0 in it. It will not happen.
Unless they're really biting.
And of course. Yeah. And then the pros outweigh it,
Yeah.
and that's how you always are just going to have to treat it. So,
sure.
It's a case by case on all of them. But you got to have it sometimes, otherwise the shot's not there. Hey, when we come back, we got a lot more Let's Talk Hookup coming here. We're going to find out who's going fishing on the double. More Let's Talk Hookup coming your way on the Mighty 1090.
I'm very excited to share my experience with the new Simrad NSS Evo 2 touchscreen chart plotter and sonar unit I just installed on my boat. I've been a Simrad electronics fan for many years and always enjoyed the ease of use and incredible technology. Last year I installed the new 4G broadband radar and could not believe the difference. So this year I upgraded to the new NSS Evo 2 and it's amazing. With an easy to use tablet style interface that's fresh but familiar, the Simrad NSS Evo 2 combines a multi-touch screen with push-to-select rotary dial for precision control and speedy response. The core of any marine electronic for me is how it marks fish. And the new NSS Evo 2 with built-in Sonar Hub sounder technology, including chirp and structure scan, can't be beat. Now, the true test is whether I need to pick up the manual to figure it out. And guess what? The new Simrad gear is so easy, I didn't need it. There's a lot more to the new Simrad NSS Evo 2 system I'd like to tell you, but best to just go to your local Simrad dealer and check it out. Or see simrad-yachting.com for more details.
For over 5 decades, Lee Palm Sport Fishing has set the standard in long-range fishing that they pioneered long ago. The Red Rooster 3 sets a new standard of excellence. The Red Rooster 3 is one of the most modern, quiet, and fastest long-range vessels in the fleet. They have handpicked the finest crew to make your trip a memorable one. The Red Rooster 3 offers trips from 3 to 18 days and runs year-round to the best fishing spots on the planet. Ride the Red Rooster 3 once and you'll be back again. Call the Red Rooster 3 at 619-224-3857 or see them on the web at redrooster3.com. Great boats, free parking, and a fully stocked tackle shop. Just a few of the reasons Seaforth Sport Fishing is a favorite among anglers. Come aboard top charter boats like the Aztec, Cortez, Endeavor, Eclipse, Apollo, Outer Limits, Pacific Star, El Gato Dos, Alexis, Pride, Privateer, Tribute, Pacific Voyager, and the Voyager. Plus, the new Seaforth Sea Watch in San Diego offer the finest half, 3/4, and full-day trips available. Check out the full-service tackle store at Seaforth Sport Fishing. And it's all run by fishermen for fishermen. 1717 Quivira Road, just off Mission Bay Drive in Mission Bay. Book online at seaforthlanding.com. No matter the fishing conditions, count on the Seagar family of fluorocarbon leader material to help you catch more fish. Fluoro Premier has a smaller diameter with the highest break strength. Plus, it is super soft. When bites are tough, tie on Fluoro Premier. Blue Label is tough as nails with incredible abrasion resistance and impact strength. And new Pink Label is the choice for tough light conditions, giving you a little more visibility for better line control. Pick up a spool of Seagar at your favorite tackle dealer or visit seagar.com.
XEPRS 1090 AM Rosarito, Baja California.
You're listening to the home of the Aztecs.
He's gone. Touchdown, Aztecs.
San Diego's sports leader, the mighty 1090.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Hookup on the Mighty 1090. You're at the winner of a half-day trip for 2, including the tackle rental, on board the Daily Double out of Point Loma Sport Fishing is going to Ed in Mira Mesa. Ed, congratulations. You're going to love fishing with Fred. The whole gang on the double. It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. And Chugey, thank you very much for coming in. PIER, Flagler Institute of Environmental Research. You guys have a great website.
Yeah, you know, for any of the work that we're doing, if you want to read more about it, want to figure out how you can get involved and help, it's www.pier.org. We're a 501(c)(3). We're a nonprofit research institute, and we love hearing from the public.
All right, and if people want to help with donations and such like that, you guys, you need them to help further your work.
I think it's always going to be a challenge to do a lot of the work that we want. We're really trying to focus on fish that everybody's really interested in, and we want to make sure that people keep fishing.
Yeah. You heard the kind of work they're doing here. You're really doing the stuff that we love. So go to PIER.org.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
www.pier.org.
.org, and check it out and donate some money to help their cause.
Yeah, help us out. Read. You know, you can just get caught up.
Yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Thanks for everything.
Thanks, Chugey. Look forward to having you back. And we'll look forward to having you back tomorrow morning, 7 to 9 a.m. Mr. John Ireland from Rancho Lane Arrow and Baja's Eastcape is going to be in the studio with us. Thanks for listening today. We'll see you tomorrow morning right back here on the Mighty 1090.